I love starting the day with coffee in handmade coffee cups, but there's always been one thing a little amiss: the cocoa shaker. So I've come up with a simple ceramic design that's perfect for cocoa and maybe a few other things too. Let's get into it. I'm going to start with the glazing. A bit backwards? Well, I've already made a prototype and I really want to try this out. I start by glazing the inside. I use a sponge to stop the glaze running out as I pour in. I'm going for a scalloped glazing technique. It's too easy and the results are fun. I've removed any glaze drips and now I'm just pouring glaze. I'm pouring about 2 centimeters from the top. Each time I pour, some of the glaze runs to the underside of the shaker. I enjoy the process, but I think I need a little more practice. So now the top's fully glazed too, but I need to pay attention to those holes. I try cleaning them with a little makeup brush, but it damages the surrounding glaze. Next I try a bamboo skewer. This works a little better, but I'm not getting enough glaze out of the holes. If I don't clean these holes properly, the glaze will seal the holes and my shaker will be useless. I'm going to think of a solution for this and come back to this a little later. So to make some more so I can refine my glazing, I take 450 grams of my favourite clay. I centre the clay, and I flatten the clay, and then I push down and open out. I'm aiming for a narrow cylinder. I don't need much clay in the base, it's going to require very little trimming. In fact, this is a pretty efficient design. So I pull up the walls. I need to make them a little taller than the final shaker. That's because I'm going to close the cylinder. I'm making this in one piece. And now I'm ready to collar in. Making a closed cylinder is actually quite versatile. There are many kinds of containers you can make this way. Now I'm ready to push the clay together to completely close the form. I make sure I get a good join, that is plenty of clay in that join. And now I flatten. I'm going to use a rib to flatten. I'm going to trim a recess. So this recess is actually for the plug that will go into the base. So the top is the base. I straighten the walls with a rib. And as usual, I trim a little around the base. This is going to be the top. And now I dry to leather hard. I make a hole for the plug. I'm using a plastic plug, but cork will work equally well. Of course, I need to pay attention to the size of the hole and the shrinkage rate of the clay. I'm using a hole cutter that's 10% greater than the flange. This is to allow for shrinkage. There's also a millimeter or so of flexibility in the flange, and that allows for a nice tight fit. Even though the hole's way too large at this point, I still check to make sure that we're kind of in the ballpark. And now I'm going to wire through. I flip the shaker so it's upright, And now I can just smooth with my flexible rib. I use a pin tool to mark out the holes. Now I'm going to gently alter the form by squeezing the walls. This will give a nice feel to picking up and using the shaker. I think this will help with the grip and make it feel less like the shaker's going to slide out of your hands. If you are altering your form in this way, make sure that the hole in the base is still round. I make the holes using one of my hole cutters. I'm making this one for cocoa, but you can use different hole cutters for different ingredients. So I set my shaker aside to dry fully, and then I bisque fire. Back to the glazing. I have some wax resist that I thought might work. So I dab a little into each hole. I let the wax resist dry, but then what I find is after glazing, the glaze is still damaged as I remove the wax resist. So I do my best by smoothing over the glaze by hand. And after a glaze fire, I'm ready to see if the plug fits. Now I'm ready to fill my shaker. This time with icing sugar. After fumbling around a bit with a spoon, I find a funnel is the way to go. So cocoa, icing sugar, salt, flour, and my guilty favourite, this old school Parmesan. The uses are pretty much unlimited. I could even put one to use in the studio. And if you have a favourite way of keeping those holes free of glaze or making them easier to clean, I would love to hear. Comment below. And for another super useful kitchen project, why not check out my funnel video? And happy potting!